you ever wondered how people become entrepreneurs? How they make money without having a 9 to 5? What about the people that have made their money, acquired millions? How do they continue to have their money work for them? Knowledge is power, my people. Unfortunately, most people aren't too fond of sharing such information without a cost. So here it is for free. All I ask in return is that you pay it forward, share this info with others. This is Marla Nicole, and you're listening to Business Bullish, where we cover business and money matters from start to finish. You can find me on Instagram at Miss Marla Nicole with an MS Marla Nicole, or at www.marlanicole.com. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to another episode of Business Bullish. You can watch us on YouTube, read it on marlanicole.com, or listen to it worldwide on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Don't forget to press that subscribe, follow, or like button, and share it with friends and family. There is so much information out there, enough for us all to win. Remember, sharing is caring. Thank you for joining us today on Business Bullish. We have Mike Rae Anderson, director, producer, actor, entrepreneur. I can go on, but we have you here, so I'll let you speak for yourself.
Well, of course, I'm Mike Rae Anderson, and I am an award-winning film producer. And I always say that and emphasize that for a reason. You know, we're in a market where it's hard to get your work recognized. And then when you win like notable awards for something that you've produced or something that's had a big budget behind it, for example, the documentary Give Us This Day, we had won the New York Film and TV Gold Medal Award for that documentary back in 2020. And that was just an accomplishment that I was happy to be a part of, because we went in and did this investigative documentary about East St. Louis. And I had to spend a whole year and 4 months there, almost as a resident, so to speak. I pretty much became a transplant there and was able to tell the story about East St. Louis and 6 specific characters. But in my journey, I've always had the opportunity to be able to just tell great stories, whether it was through documentary style films or through feature narratives and even short films. But before I was a filmmaker and a film producer, I had a little bit of fire to go through. You know, they say you don't become refined until you go through fire.
A lot of
And that
fire.
fire,
A lot of
yeah, a
fire.
whole lot of fire. I mean, my whole life has been under fire ever since I was a young chop, so to speak.
Tell us
And, you
about
know,
that,
when I,
because that goes into, really one of the reasons that I wanted to have you here on the show today. You have an amazing story, and you're currently doing some amazing things. So you're really an inspiration to so many people, people that really need to hear your story. Tell us about that fire.
well, that fire consisted of first, as a young man growing up in a domestic violence plagued household. My father was an African American Vietnam vet that has suffered so much trauma. And I guess, you know, he entered into the diagnosis of PTSD, but was never treated or counseled when he came home from war. So of course there was so many triggers that was involved with him bringing myself up and my 3 brothers along with my mother, who was actually from Germany. So she was a Caucasian German lady that he met in Germany while stationed in Germany after the Vietnam War, fell in love with her, and then brought her over here to the United States. But as he was raising us, again, like I said, he was so traumatized that he just lost his mind sometimes. Sometimes he held us at gunpoint. I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We call it Vietnam 26. And but I grew up there where there's Fort Bragg right next to it. And so they always had like simulated bombing exercises. And when you heard the bombs go off, my father would just lose it. And then he would think my mom was the enemy, and he would snatch her up, choke her, start beating on her and stuff like that. And even like I said, held us at gunpoint, so much to the point that one summer we had to leave and go to a domestic violence shelter. But anyway, long story short, all that stuff made me resent my childhood and made me resent the environment that I was living in. If you cannot be safe in your own household, how do you expect to be safe in the outer environment that you have to go to? School,
Right.
football
Absolutely.
practice, if you play football like I did when I was young, or any other thing involved with the outer environment. If you don't trust your home, you'll never be able to trust anybody outside of that to a certain
Right.
extent. So as life went on, I resented it and I pretty much took it out, um, I guess, by going into the streets. One thing led to another. I went into the street life about age 14, probably stayed in it all the way up until age 18, tried to go into the military. That didn't work. I got medically discharged because I had major injuries that happened after training, and then went back into the streets, and one thing led to another, and before you know it, by age 19 I ended up in the Cumberland County Jail in Fayetteville, North Carolina, facing the death penalty plus life plus 60 years. Woo! I ain't gonna lie, I was a scared young boy. And after staying almost 3 years in the county jail waiting for trial, they came at me pressing for the death penalty and told me that they had a plea bargain for me for a life sentence. And if I didn't take this plea bargain, they would definitely execute me. So, quite naturally, as a young man, I got scared. I ended up taking the plea bargain to escape the death penalty, and I took the plea bargain for life. So there I was, after taking a plea bargain for life in the North Carolina Department of Corrections, trying to figure out how am I going to do this life sentence and will I ever go home? They told me I wouldn't. They said I would never see, freedom again. But for some reason, I don't know, it was in my heart, in my spirit, and in my soul. I didn't believe that. So when I got to Polk Youth Center in Raleigh, North Carolina, back in 1993, there was a young lady there named Jocelyn King. And I'm explaining to you how important she is later on when we talk about the movie. But Jocelyn King was pretty much the first black woman that ever really spoke life into me. I grew up in the hood. I wasn't used to that. We weren't used to people speaking life into you. We didn't know what was going on, what our
Right.
futures consisted of. And of course, my mother was so, I guess, beaten and exhausted that she couldn't really hardly speak life, even though sometimes she would stop to say, "You're going to be somebody very special." I just couldn't see it, not with the family that I was growing up in and not with the environment that I was growing up in as well. But
Absolutely.
Jocelyn King told me, she said, after doing diagnostic tests that they ran on me and everything, she said my scores came back and showed that I was a genius. And I was like, what? A genius? Where? Can you show me that? And then, there was this IQ test that they had given me, psychological test that they had given me. And she just was like, yo, you're a genius and I believe in you and you're going to do something. And one day, guess what? You're going to get out. And it just so happens that I had to find somebody to really, 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 really embrace. And it was her, because she spoke life into me, and life was what I needed while getting ready to serve this life sentence. So it
Right.
started there. And then as time went on, I just became more and more acclimated to the idea of success versus failure. And I decided to take the path that she told me to take, and that was to get college courses and do all positive programming that I can do. And so I decided to, again, like I said, take different vocational trades, self help programs. And before you know it, I had served 17 and a half years in the Department of Corrections before I was released. But while I was serving that 17 and a half years on that life sentence, I had gotten 2 college degrees. I had gotten 9 different vocational trades, several different self-help programs, Napoleon Hill, Key Principles to Success, cognitive behavior skills, so many things. I started writing plays for the inmates on the inside, and we would produce the plays. And I participated in talent shows. I had my own rap group. We won every year for 5 years straight. We called it the Prison Grammy. Um, I mean, I just went in there and found out that there was a plethora of gifts inside of me that I had no idea existed. That I say, you know what? If these are the gifts that, the creator had given me, I'm ready to operate in these gifts, but I can't do that in here. And I just started thinking myself out of prison. I started thinking it into existence that I know I'm not supposed to be here. And before you know it, in 2008, the parole board decided to give me a second chance, and they released me on May 11th, 2008, which was Sunday, Mother's Day, which was the best
Wow.
gift ever for my mother.
I can imagine. I can only
Yeah.
imagine. Who would have thought, the strength that an individual can have when it comes to being able to really motivate and inspire. She clearly saw something in you, and you've clearly continued on that path. Do you still have any type of contact with her so that she sees what you're doing now?
Well, recently, this is crazy, and I believe in full circle, and how the circle of life reacts and how the creator
Mhm.
sustains it through the universe unless the energy comes back around to you. It's so crazy because I got a call. No, I got a message on Twitter out of nowhere, and it was like, "Oh my God, I saw the news interview you just did for your movie, and it seems like you were talking about my mother." And it was her daughter, Jocelyn King's daughter, that reached out to me on Twitter because
Wow.
I had did an interview about the movie that we shot about my life story with Shaw Jackson, who was on the interview. Shout out to Shaw Jackson, who actually played Jocelyn King in my movie that we're going to
Nice.
talk about. And the young lady was so ecstatic, and she was just like, what, how do you know my mother? And I told her, I was like, Jocelyn King was the one who spoke life into me in the beginning of my sentence. And so she ended up connecting me with her mother, and we met in person, and I was able to give her an autographed copy of the book that
Wow.
I had already written, because I published a book about it too. And
Right.
it was my self-written autobiography that ended up becoming an Amazon bestseller. So she ended up meeting up with me, and she was like blown away. She said, I told you you was gonna get out. I said, yo, you was right. You know what I'm saying?
That's an
So
amazing story.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to tell too much because I definitely need people to support your movie. You've got such an amazing story. And what I like to talk about on my podcast is really entrepreneurs and how we do what we do. And you have done so much. And there are so many people that had, been spoon fed things. And to see everything that you've been able to accomplish, that you basically had to teach yourself. And so there's a message in that as well, in terms of,
definitely.
everybody that's listening and watching. This man self-taught pretty much everything that you've heard him speak about, from the autobiography, from writing, directing, producing. um, let's talk about Straight Shooter. That hat, I need to get one. But you also now have a distribution company.
Yeah, so I realized that even as a felon, that you got to strike against you when you fill out that application, when you have to reveal that you are a felon. But what can I do to become my own boss? What can I do where they don't
Absolutely.
turn me down in every application? I become skillful in what it is that I'm passionate about. And I knew I loved telling stories, because when I was on the inside, guys used to just be like, yo, what happened that day that such and such? Or yo, tell us a story about such, almost like the movie Life. I mean, I was serving Life, and it was like the movie Life, and it was like, yo, Ray, tell us about the Boom Boom Club. You know what I'm saying? Ray's Boom Boom Room. And I mean, that's how I was. I was telling stories. And so I knew I was good at it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to give nobody the opportunity to turn me into a turned down application. I'm going to become the
Absolutely.
guy that's going to give out the applications. In other words, a boss, so to speak, but a boss that's also a leader. And how else can you lead but to remember where you came from? And where I came from was my fire. I became refined, and I became the person
Absolutely.
that I needed to be. You know what I'm saying? So self distribution is one thing that I felt like should be an avenue for other people that have no opportunity to get noted by the big distribution companies. Because I've been down that road. I've been down that road. I know what it feels like to be turned down by somebody that says, no, we can't use your content.
Right.
And I feel like content can be used on so many different occasions, on so many different levels, and so many different platforms. Because I feel if a piece of content can cater to, preach to, minister to, or testify to one spirit, one soul, then that can make a change, because you never know how the domino effect may occur. So I look at it this way: with Straight Shooter, it's like, yo, we shoot from the hip. We ain't got no reason to withhold truth from you. If truth can set you free, then that's what we're going to expose, truth. And a lot of people films. They're
Mhm.
creatives. They're not understood by the masses, but they may be understood by two people. So let's give that person the opportunity to share their content with at least two people.
Right.
And maybe that can trigger and set something off to the point to where this person can be noted for their creation by somebody. That one person you may touch ain't got to be a nobody, so to speak, because nobody is a nobody, but it may be somebody that is a millionaire that says, oh man, this person just touched me with this content.
Every single state's youth authority needs to show your film to their boys because there's hope and there's promise. And, having that one strike against you, two strikes, or even three strikes doesn't complete you and make you a damaged good. And you
That's
are
right.
proof of that. And I really think that, your film needs to be seen by certain people, definitely. But your story is just so spectacular in terms of where you come from and what you're doing now. Your film, we're going to put the link to Mike's film that you can purchase and download everywhere that you can listen to this podcast. The link will be included in the body of the description of this podcast. It'll be included in YouTube. It'll be included on all my social media channels. You guys make sure you support the film. It's called A Polished Soul. It's the Mike Rae Anderson story. Again, watching a young man that was facing the death penalty, life, 60 years, and is here today as an award-winning producer, director, writer. Got a very impressive resume. You've worked with a lot of big names behind the camera, on the camera, as an actor. And I posted something on my Instagram earlier today, and it was talking about how it's never too late to establish your goals and to set goals. And it really focused on a long list of very successful people that started fairly late in life, but are still very much accomplished today. And it's just amazing that, you don't even fit into that category in terms of someone that starts late just based on age, but you just had a late start and still had the drive and the tenacity to push forward and follow your dreams. And, here you are. And I really
Yeah.
appreciate you being on the show today to talk about everything.
I appreciate you
Again,
having
your
me for real.
movie is, I'm just excited. I'm happy to know you. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to support it. Happy to have
Yeah,
you on the
you're one of the
podcast.
producers on it. You're one of the producers. Big ups to you from the beginning. Your name drew like interested distribution, man, and it was just like for some reason after a lot of distribution companies viewed it, they was just like, we don't know what to do, and I was just like, wow, like. That's a compliment. It's a gift and a curse, because the success of the message is more important to me than anything. I want to teach these young cats. Look, you don't have to do this. It's like when Christ went down for 3 days and took the sting out of hell. I felt like I did 17 and a half years in prison to take the sting out of incarceration. So I
Right,
can tell
right.
you what not to do, so you don't have to go there. And by the end of the
Absolutely.
day, man, yeah, it's just like one of the places that I grew up in. They call it the trap. I think trap actually derived out of Fayetteville, North Carolina at one time because they was like, it's a trap. If you don't hurry up and get out of the city, then you might not make it out. And I was able to
Right.
survive and then come back home and become a living testament as to what it means to redeem yourself, turn your life around, and do what it is that your purpose is all about. When I reached
No,
inside of me and found
absolutely.
out that I was a filmmaker, I became just that, a filmmaker, an actor, whatever. One of the biggest projects that I had the pleasure of working on was with Nate Parker, American Skin. And that
Good
brother,
show. Yeah.
yeah, that brother. I mean, I encourage everybody to go look at that, American Skin. You can see that on Amazon. But that brother, he poured it into me because he saw something in me, just like Jocelyn King did in prison. So he was just like, brother, yo, you are a gift to the world. And I was like, nah, you a gift to the world. Like, and so it was just like one of those things, man. And I appreciate brothers like him and Oba Baba Tunde, who's in the movie, Hawthorne James, Red for Five Heartbeats, Shaw Jackson, Petrie Bird, formerly from Judge Judy. All
Yeah.
these brothers wanted to, brothers and sister wanted to get behind me. And there's so many different other people, my partners when I went to go check out acting school with Richard Lawson in LA was Shane Johnson, who now plays Cooper Sax on Power and Power Book 2 and all these other things. And me and him were like
Right.
industry brothers. So all these
Right.
people poured into me. Tasha Smith, everybody, Vanessa Bell Calloway poured into me. When you watch the movie, you'll see these people that poured into me and, had an influence in my life and told me I could do anything I want to as long as I set my mind to it. And if I can overcome
Absolutely.
17 and a half years of incarceration and come out, even though they told me I wasn't going to come out, then I could make a movie. I could make
Your
five
story is
movies.
gonna your story is gonna help so many people. I am extremely proud of you and everything that you're doing. We all have a deeper power, and it's just a matter of being able to find it. So again, Mike Rae Anderson, director, award-winning producer, writer, um, entrepreneur. I'm just going to give you all the titles, and thank you for coming on Business Bullish. We appreciate you. Um, watch the film A Polished Soul, and we will see you soon.